My name is Kathleen Federici, and I'm the Director of Professional Development for IPMI. I'm very happy to be doing this short video on tips for building resilience as a leader. All of us, either in some capacity in our professional life or in our personal life, have been resilient, right? In my former career, when I first started out, I was a social worker. People that I had on my caseload for being a social worker, everybody has a story. This is no different. However you went through the pandemic, however, what has come at you during the pandemic that was unexpected requires resiliency. And as human beings, we are resilient, whether we want to realize it or not, or we feel it or don't feel it. We might not even know we're being resilient at the time we're being resilient. So find your support group, tell your story, and learn from others and their stories during this time. So resiliency is when you bend with the wind, but you don't break in the storm. As we continue to adapt to the public health requirements and the different things about the COVID and things like that, changes are coming to us very quickly. So as leaders and as people who are resilient, depending on if it was during the pandemic, before the pandemic, or throughout the lifespan of each and every one of us, we start to build a capacity for resiliency. We start to build ourselves as leaders, as resilient leadership, which as a resilient leader, you inspire those around you to become more adaptable to the situations that are thrown at them. So to be resilient and put one foot in front of the other after a hardship or after something personal or something through work that has happened that you necessarily did not want it to happen that way, you have courage to move forward and you overcome your setbacks. And as you do this, people watch, right? People are watching us. And this is the way we build our resilient leadership traits. But the tips for resilient leadership are those personal relationships, right? So I was talking to you about my former life as a social worker and how the people that I was on my caseload at the time had a strong support base. So it could have been through family, it could have been through friends, it could have been through neighbors, it could have been through religious organizations, it could have been through volunteer work, it could have been through anything, it could have been through professional assistance, but they create all of those relationships, create a strong support base. So whoever your support base is, keep them close. Socialization. Now, with the pandemic, socialization was hard. It's been through the Zoom, right? But clearly, even if it is through the Zoom or through a phone conversation or through FaceTime, whatever it is, even if it's brief, some type of socialization is really important to have throughout your day. And exercise, right? Everybody tells you to exercise. Well, it's also linked to leadership. And the Center for Creative Leadership, if you look it up, if you type in Center for Creative Leadership, exercise and leadership, lots of articles will come up and you can read through as many as you choose. But the bottom line is leaders who exercise regularly were rated significantly higher by their bosses, their peers, their direct reports, more so on their leadership effectiveness than those who don't exercise. And as I was reading these different articles from the Center for Creative Leadership, they say the things that I already knew. For the most part, exercise assists with helping the person cope with stress. It improves your brain function because it helps you think clearly. It helps you problem solve. It helps you focus on different things that you're thinking about. It increases your mental awareness and your alertness, and it also increases your creativity. And if you read some of those articles, it'll give you the exact, like, okay, this stimulates this in your brain, and this is why this happens. But for this short video, I can't really go into all that. But if you did want to search that yourself, all of those things would be in there. And practice gratitude. So one of our friends, my family friends, she lives in Scotland, and she gave us a gratitude jar 2 or 3 years, I guess it was 3 years ago by this point. And it's a jar that you just rip little pieces of paper in, and you say what you're grateful for at the end of every day. And it's something that they do in where she lives in in Scotland, and her community does this, and they practice gratitude. So gratitude exercise is linked to a lot of different things in the brain, but gratitude has been linked in oxytocin, the hormone associated with social bonding. And there's in the Oxford Academic Journal, there's an entire article on how gratitude is linked to creating oxytocin, which is associated with social bonding and feeling good and mental awareness and things like that. So practicing gratitude is another way to help yourself stay and become resilient. Also, just to mention, Glassdoor found that 80% of employees say they'd be willing to work harder for somebody who's appreciative of them, who practices gratitude with them for the work that they do. So that's something else to think about. Resilience is the capacity to not only endure great challenges, but get stronger in the midst of them. So this was a quote from a Harvard Business School professor. This is such an extraordinarily important capability because we live in a world that's one nonstop crisis. And this is true, especially right now. One calamity, one emergency, one something unexpected, difficult surprise, one after another, and it's like waves breaking on the shore. So for it can deplete you, of course, all of these things, but even through the depletion and the exhaustion of whatever's happening at the time, we still come out resilient. So that's something very hopeful to remember. And I like this quote: the human capacity for burden is like bamboo, far more flexible than you'd ever believe at first glance. So I'm going to close with that quote. You are more resilient than you will ever know. And we hope to see you at the Mobility Innovation Summit, which is coming up. And I'm going to put a plug in for the Education Development Committee only because I'm the staff liaison for that committee. But we are doing a session on resiliency. And if you attend Mobility Innovation Summit, we do hope that you check out our session on resiliency. Thank you for your time, and I will see you soon. Have a great day.